The wheels creaked as Talia's wagon rolled into dust smear, a sun-bitten settlement with more dust than mercy. Her horse limped from the last ridge, and the cracked wooden wheels had barely made it through the rocky descent. As she approached the center of town, something made her slow the reins. A cage. In the middle of the square, like a twisted attraction, sat an iron cage, and inside it, barefoot, bruised, and silent, was a man. His hair was matted, his beard thick, and though his eyes stayed low, his presence felt like thunder waiting to strike. Children laughed and tossed pebbles toward the bars. A woman sold roasted nuts nearby, as if this were any other afternoon. Talia blinked, horrified. "What is this?" she asked the toothless man leaning on a post. "Beast we caught stealing food. Town's way of teaching manners." She stared longer. This was no beast. The man, though beaten and restrained, carried an unmistakable dignity. He had the look of someone who'd lost everything, and yet hadn't given up. Before she could stop herself, Talia stepped forward. "What'll it cost to let him out?" The townsfolk scoffed. One man spat at the ground. "That your pet or something? He ain't worth the fleas on a mutt." Talia slid her hand into her satchel and withdrew a small velvet pouch. From it, she pulled a simple gold ring, her wedding band. She hadn't worn it in weeks. This, for his freedom. There was a hush. A grizzled man, perhaps the cage keeper, took the ring, bit it, then nodded. "Suit yourself." The cage creaked open. The man didn't move. Talia held out her hand. "Come on." Slowly, as if unsure whether it was a trick, he stood and stepped out. He didn't speak. He didn't thank her. He only followed. As they left the square, Talia heard someone mutter behind her, "Fool girls walking with the devil." They didn't speak. Through winding woods and sloped paths, the man walked silently behind the wagon. When the wheel cracked again, he fixed it without instruction. When the fire needed wood, he gathered it. At first, Talia was uneasy with the silence. She'd expected a word, even a grunt. But there was none. That night, they made camp by a quiet creek. As she lit the fire, he sat across, slowly tearing a piece of bread in half. He held it out to her wordlessly. Talia hesitated, then took it. "Thank you," she said softly. He only nodded. The air was thick with unspoken things, but somehow it didn't feel empty. By the third evening, Talia noticed him carving something with a dull blade. She caught glimpses, with chips curling, his fingers skilled and focused. After supper, he approached and held out the carving. A wolf. Its eyes were wild, its body poised to run. She looked up confused. He pointed at her, then the wolf. She laughed once, a dry sound from days of silence. "You think I'm like that?" He nodded, bold, alone, surviving. She tucked it into her pocket, then pulled out the small velvet pouch, the one that once held her wedding ring. She stared at it for a long second before tossing it into the fire. The fabric curled, caught flame, and vanished. He watched, expression unreadable. But in that moment, something changed between them. The trail narrowed as they climbed. One side fell off into a steep ravine. The other rose into jagged rock. Talia's hands gripped the wagon tighter. With every step, the horse whinnied. Spooked by a loose stone, the wagon shifted dangerously. Before she could panic, the man moved. Calm, controlled. He grabbed the reins, whispered something low to the horse, then guided it forward with steady hands. Talia's breath caught. She hadn't noticed until now how capable he was. Every motion precise, purposeful. He never spoke, but his silence wasn't empty. It was full of decision, of command. When they reached safer ground, she whispered, "Thank you." This time, he looked her in the eyes and gave the faintest nod. That night, while she washed her face in the stream, she felt his presence behind her. She turned to see him holding something small, a thin strip of bark, twisted with care. He motioned to her hair. Talia blinked. "You want to braid it?" He didn't answer, just waited. She turned around and sat. His fingers were rough, but gentle. He wove her hair into a tight braid and tied it off with a strip. In the morning, she found something new added to it, a small carved bone bead. Simple, but clearly meant for her. They sat by the fire again. He carved late into the night, and when he handed her the figure, her breath caught. It was her, small but unmistakably her, right down to the braid. She stared at him, and finally asked a question that had lingered too long. "What's your name?" He looked toward the coals, then picked up a flat stone. With his blade, he carved slowly, deliberately. "Kale." Talia whispered it. "Kale." He took another bark strip and tied it into her braid, this one bearing a single letter burned into it. C. Her hair now held more than a style. It held his name. Days later, as they rested near the canyon edge, Talia finally asked what had haunted her since Dustmere. "You could have run when I opened that cage. Why didn't you?" Cale didn't speak. Instead, he knelt and drew a rough circle in the dirt. She frowned. "A circle?" He pointed to it, then to his own chest. Understanding flickered. "You were trapped long before that cage." He nodded. Then, wordlessly, he placed a small item into her hand. A ring. Old. Dented. Not his. Perhaps never worn. "For me?" she asked. He nodded again. "Why?" He only pressed her fingers close around it. No answer needed.